Welcome to the Annie Jennings PR Real Stories of Success podcast series. Annie Jennings is the creator of the most powerful radio campaign in the country, where you are booked on high-impact shows in top markets, and she's famous for guaranteed deliverables. My name is Stacey Amaral Kaufman. I'm radio director for Annie Jennings PR and interviewer for Jennings Wire Online magazine, a special community of bloggers and podcasters that is capturing the heart of America. Today we are sharing another real story to give listeners an inside look into what it's like to work with Annie Jennings PR. And joining me is Brian Fielkow. He is author of Driven to Perfection, Achieving Business Excellence by Creating a Vibrant Culture, who was a radio guest in major markets, including LA, DC, Philadelphia, Seattle, Sacramento, St. Louis, Milwaukee, and featured as an expert guest for CBS Radio, Clear Channel Radio, NPR, and the Wall Street Journal Radio Network. So, welcome, Brian.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing great. Besides a little groggy throat, I'm okay. But I hear it gives me a little character in my voice, so I'm okay with that. Anyway, Brian, there are so many different PR firms to choose from, and people to reach out to get your name out there. Why was it that you turned to Annie Jennings PR for radio?
Because of Annie's reputation in the area of radio. I think that a more traditional media like radio has a lot of appeal to reach an audience for a book like mine. And Annie's reputation was unparalleled. And when we started to talk, before I retained the firm, I could just tell from Annie's presentation that the firm goes the extra mile and really takes individual care of each client.
And so you felt that way walking away from the conversation with Annie, and then you ended up signing on with us. And did those expectations that you had, I know you said that you felt like we took care of the individual client, we had a good reputation, so I'm sure those were your expectations going in. And do you feel like they were met?
They were exceeded. First of all, they were backed up with a guarantee, so that I felt comfortable that if there was an issue or they weren't met, that Annie would take care of that. But I never had to worry about that, not for a second. In fact, the number of interviews we did actually exceeded the agreement we had. So my expectations were greatly exceeded, from the training process to the strategy process to the actual execution.
Well, I'm glad you mentioned the training process, because it is something that I know we pride ourselves in. We, of course, want to make sure that everyone we work with is completely ready to go and prepared for what to expect on the radio shows as well. So what did you feel was the most important piece of advice, or what was the most important thing that our radio trainer, Jason, showed you or prepped you with or gave you that piece of advice? What was the most important thing to help you on your time on the air?
Actually, when we began our conversation, Jason led with a series of questions, and I wasn't quite sure where he was going, but then midway through our conversation, he said, okay, stop. These are the questions that you're going to be receiving. This is where I think you answered them really well. This is where I think you need to work on it a little bit. So before we even got into the training, Jason was already doing a mock interview, gave me no time to prepare, no time to think, and kind of did a simulated interview without me even being aware that's what he was doing. And then we were able to take that experience and draw from the positives and make the course corrections that we needed to.
And that tends to be how a lot of the radio stations, how a lot of the interviews begin, right? They just call you up and say, okay, and that's it. There's not a ton of small talk going on. I know that in our campaigns we book a cross-section of different formats. You have some longer length formats and some shorter ones and a high listenership, high-impact drive times. But a lot of those smaller, shorter, or I won't say smaller, but shorter length interviews, they just put you right in there. They throw you right into the lion's den.
They throw you right in, and you can go in there, understanding that the host wants to talk about a particular topic. They may go somewhere else. I mean, you've got to be prepared. You've got to, know your material inside and out, and be ready to bob and weave a little bit to make sure that you're giving the host what they need.
And how was the overall experience in working with the radio team?
It was wonderful. The responsiveness, the organization, everything was fantastic. It was really one of the better PR firm experiences that I've had in my career. I can't say enough about the job that the PR team did.
And Brian, have you been able to leverage some of these brand names, such as a Wall Street Journal or CBS Radio? And if so, how are you doing that?
We're using the logos on our website and in our marketing materials, the Speaker One sheet, and we're available where possible. We've got podcasts and we've got links into the podcasts also. So we have everything hooked up on our website, and we're using them as references to promote the book and some other related projects. So absolutely, it's a pretty impressive resume of stations that we appeared on.
And why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about the book Driving to Perfection, so they can understand a little bit about you and the type of guest and expert that you are?
Sure. Driving to Perfection is a book about achieving business excellence by creating a vibrant company culture. There are a lot of books out there about the theory of culture, more esoteric. This book is kind of a how-to manual. This book is written for businesses of any size with practical how-to tips to build a truly engaged workforce and to build a world-class culture, because your culture really is what distinguishes you. It's the critical difference between you and your competition. And so what this book tries to do is bridge the theory into reality, into action steps, and then make it so that a business of any size can adopt these ideas.
Well, wonderful, Brian. And I guess that's it. You wrap this all up very nicely with a neat bow. I know that we booked you on a couple of different types of topics. So this is what I wanted to ask you, Brian, about the topics and being socially relevant. You know, while we were booking you and you were an active radio client of ours, there was a lot of things going on in the NFL workplace culture. So we were able to use that particular news item, that social relevancy, the topic that everyone was talking about, whether it was Richie Incognito and the bullying of Jonathan Martin with the Miami Dolphins, or then, of course, Michael Sam coming out as a draftee coming up this May, as the first openly gay football player possibly to play in the NFL. And so why don't you tell the listeners a little bit about that experience and being a part of a national conversation on hot topics?
Well, that was really a lot of fun, because a lot of business books have again the theory, they've got the concept, but when it ties into the real world and what's in the headlines today, it was really a fun experience to be able to, for example, talk about we talked about workplace bullying. We talked about the need for companies to evolve, just like locker room culture is evolving. And it was really a great experience to be able to take what I wrote about and to take what's in my book and apply it to something that's going on right there in the national headlines, and to be recognized by CBS Radio, by Wall Street Journal Radio as an expert in those areas, qualified to talk about the issues of the day. Really a wonderful experience.
That's pretty cool that you didn't even realize that you could talk about these things, and you were an expert in the NFL locker room culture. But lo and behold, right? I mean, you could be an expert in lots of different things in different areas and apply that book and your knowledge and your experience to so many different socially relevant topics and news happenings. So, we wish you your continued success, Brian, and hopefully we're able to continue to work together. And I'd like to just tell our listeners that you can learn more about Brian Fielkow and his book, which again is Driven to Perfection, Achieving Business Excellence by Creating a Vibrant Culture, at the website drivingtoperfection.com. So thank you, Brian, for being here.
Thank you.
And this podcast is presented by Annie Jennings of the national publicity firm Annie Jennings PR and the creator of Jennings Wire Online magazine. For more information on how you too can experience radio success, please visit AnnieJenningsPR.com. Till next time.